Let's talk about USB devices now. These are both plug and play and hot swappable. So by plug and play, of course, we mean you can just plug it in and it runs. It installs the drivers, does all the things that we've talked about that plug and play does, and they just run. By hot swappable, we mean that you can actually plug and unplug them while the computer's running, and it just doesn't hiccup. It just goes ahead and uses them. A lot of times the old keyboard and mouse connectors that we used to use, you had to plug it in and then reboot the computer in order for the computer to be able to see the device. That's not true with USB devices, so that's pretty handy. There are essentially three types of connectors, A, B, and C. Let's take a look at them. That's not the one I want. This is the one I want, A, B, and C. The long flat ones that looked like this was the type A. Here's the type B, and then we had type A mini, type B mini, type A micro, type B micro, and so we just had this plethora of different connectors. And then we had a type B micro USB 3. We'll talk about that in a minute. And now we've got this nice type C. And the nice thing about the type C is that it's reversible. So they finally came up with the idea of duplicating these pins on here and putting on the inside bar here so that you can flip it around and it'll run either direction. So that's pretty sweet. We also have different, as you can see here, we have type 3, but I didn't mention type 1, type 2. That has to do with the speed, the protocols that it used to do the transfer of data, and essentially had to do with the speed. Although there are some other specifications regarding those numbers, but the practical specification for you and me has to do with how fast it can move data. Type C is by far the fastest, and Type C, depending on the port that's in your computer, may or may not also be able to move video signals using either DisplayPort or HDMI type of protocol, and those look like this. This is a HDMI, and that's a DisplayPort plug. So it can emulate HDMI or DisplayPort, but only on certain computers, and you really have to go to the manufacturer and ask. I had to send an email. The computer I bought recently, I thought for sure the Type C port on the computer would emulate DisplayPort, and I wanted to use it on a Wacom writing tablet, and it turned out it didn't, and I had to do some adaptation. So I was very disappointed by that. You know, brand new $3,300 computer, and it didn't have that capability on its Type C port. But anyway, that's pretty much it for USB devices. They're fairly simple, but realize that we have type ABC, which has to do with the physical connection type, and then these versions 1, 2, 3, 3.1 that have to do with the speeds and protocols used, and then the type C being flippable and sometimes being able to emulate DisplayPort or HDMI modes for carrying video signals. That's pretty much it for USB devices. We're going to take on some advanced concepts in drivers next.